Well, we were showing the Benny Hill British Police Force, but the truth is, of course, stranger than the comedy. This weekend, we've had the UK police arresting, James and Rita, a dad for comments that he made about his 9-year-old girl's school teachers on a WhatsApp.
Yes, this couple were held in a cell for 11 hours, arrested in front of their crying children. So you can just imagine how traumatised those poor kids are. And James, after a 5-week investigation, there's no case to answer. We don't know what they posted in that WhatsApp group that alerted the police and had so many of them show up to their home to arrest them. Well, if you think there's free speech in the UK, you're kidding yourself at this point.
Exactly.
Well, you know, this is the thing. I mean, look at the footage you see there on the screen. The police sent 6 officers to go and arrest a middle-aged couple for comments that they made in a WhatsApp group. Now, we don't know what the comments were, so, you know, but there's no indication that they were anything sort of threatening or anything like that. The best indication that we've gotten from news reports is that they were complaining about the recruitment teacher for a new teacher at their school. We also know that the couple, that their eldest daughter at the school does have some epilepsy and neurodivergence issues, and they were not allowed to meet with the school to talk about these medical issues. So it sounds like these parents had a real grievance. But the fascinating thing here, well, fascinating but also chilling thing, is the way the UK has now become this sort of place where it's a real dystopia. You know, the cops knock on your door for saying the wrong thing online. And you know, for the country that supposedly gave us free speech, that gave us the Areopagitica, which gave us all of these great defenses of liberty, to now be in this place where they charge you with a non-crime, hate crime or whatever, and the process is punishment, I think it's a disgrace.
Well, also, James, you say that we don't know what the crime is, what they said on that WhatsApp group, but nor does the guy who's being charged.
Correct.
Yeah.
The police wouldn't even tell him what he'd actually said that was wrong.
But it was,
I mean, that's terrifying. It was racial, but what does racial mean? He could have made any
We don't know that.
But don't say it's racial, because I can guarantee you, if it was racial, given what the UK's current hate speech laws are, there would be charges.
Yes.
The fact is there are no charges. Yeah. So whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be the wrong thing. We have seen people in the UK being harassed by the cops, having to go through this process for just stating biological facts about gender, about immigration. If you're stating very much a mainstream view about the levels of immigration, and perhaps you've got a problem with illegal immigration, that could see the cops knocking on your door if someone takes offence and makes a formal complaint.
Well, and that's what I mean by racial, because in their eyes, any comment about immigration, any comment to do with people coming over the border is deemed as racial. But, James, there is a racial component to what is happening with the British law. We now have a 2-tier legal system, James, whereby white men will be treated harsher now under British law, James.
Well, yeah, it's really, really shocking, this. Basically now they have put in this system whereby pre-sentencing reports, which basically automatically take into account your race, your gender, your circumstance, all of that to mitigate the sentences that you might get for whatever crime you're alleged to have committed and been brought before the courts and convicted of. That now means, essentially, that white Britons are going to get the worst treatment when it comes to sentencing. This is the 2-tier justice system. This is why they call Keir Starmer 2-tier Keir. And I'll tell you something, guys, but the other point...
Even Keir Starmer recognises what a catastrophe
Let's have a listen.
this is.
Disappointed in this response, and the Lord Chancellor is obviously continuing to engage on this, and we're considering our response. And you know, all options are on the table, but I am disappointed at this outcome, and now we'll have to consider what we do as a result.
Oh, I don't know, if only there was a Prime Minister who cared about the issue could do something. You're the Prime Minister, Keir. I mean, he's acting like he's just some dude off the street who's a little bit aggrieved.
Yes, it's ridiculous. But James, the reality is what they have literally done is brought in laws whereby if you are any of those identity politics groups, women, gays, of ethnic whatever origin, anything other than a white man must be treated more leniently. So by definition, white men will be treated harsher under the British legal system.
And we'll just be really frank about what we're talking about here. We're talking about, basically people of color, people of different religions getting a lighter sentence and a lighter treatment. And so this means, a lot of migrants who might commit crime, they're going to get a lighter treatment than somebody who was a Briton committing the same crime. That's shocking. Keir Starmer, I don't trust anything he has said there about claiming that he's distressed about that, because, this is the same guy who saw his opinion numbers absolutely plummet and then started talking about, oh, maybe we have to do something about immigration. Really, Keir? Really? Okay, fine. Now you tell us. But the thing, too, the other week, there was that phenomenal speech that J.D. Vance gave at the European Union, where he called out Britain, and he called out Europe, but he called out Britain in particular and said that Britain, which was a bastion of liberty, has no longer become that, and they are straying very far away from that. And the real point is that if America is going to go and defend liberal democracies, and you want to be defended, you've got to act like a liberal democracy. And Britain has strayed so far from the centuries. It took centuries for Britain to develop the traditions of law and liberty that we enjoy as well. And now they're torching them at a rate of knots.
And this undermines the most basic principle of our justice system, that justice is blind, that everyone's equal under the law, that you're not going to get preferential treatment based on who you are. And we already see it happening even before this formal recognition that it's happening. We have seen it over and over again with people getting ridiculously lenient sentences and then having people in the UK locked up for being in an anti-immigration protest, even if they weren't guilty of anything that was approaching violence, but they were at a violent protest, so they were guilty by association. Same thing doesn't happen with these pro-Palestinian protests. That's right. A very different approach. So we have seen it over and over again. And we're not immune from it. It's happening right here.
Well, I was going to say, we are not immune from it. And where Britain goes, we tend to go, James. A few years later, we already have in place hate speech laws and these sorts of touchy-feely, no crime actually being committed laws are coming into Australia exactly as they did in Britain. We are heading down the same path, which is what we'll be talking to Billboard Chris about, the E-Safety Commissioner, because we're heading straight down the same path.